Bill Watland,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Gary Houck,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Here.
Shane Fisher. We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Gary Houck,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the airport authority? If not, there being no further business, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. Next, we come to the Seminole Gas Authority. Roll call.
John Kramer,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Here.
Bill Watland,
Here.
Jeff Griffin, Gary Houck,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Shane Fisher. We have a quorum.
The consideration and action of the consent agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
Gary Houck,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Chris Anson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the gas authority? If not, there being no further business on the agenda, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. That brings us then to the Seminole Utilities Authority. Roll call.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Bill Watland,
Here.
Jeff Griffin, Tim Poplin,
Here.
Gary Houck,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Shane Fisher. We have a quorum.
Consideration and action of consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
John Kramer,
Yes.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Gary Houck,
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the Utilities Authority? If not, then there being no further business on the agenda, a motion to adjourn is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Roll, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. That brings us then to the Seminole City Council meeting. Roll call.
Chris Anson,
Here.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Here.
Gary Houck,
Here.
Larry Church,
Here.
Tim Poplin,
Here.
Bill Watland,
Here.
John Kramer,
Here.
Jeff Griffin, Shane Fisher. We have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yesagare Messia Mishka Hangagi Gudai, Pumakasap Kerequiche de Bedo, moment Portolofa Seminole, moment Poeski Mogan, Itinoka Chiquitis, moment Chimia Sagare Messia Nageskas. God, whose mercies cannot be numbered, accept our prayer of thanks for the city of Seminole and all our people. Let us love one another, for you, God, our love. Amen.
Amen.
Consideration and action of the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Gary Houck,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Bill Watland,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Are there any appearances or petitions from the audience for the city council?
I think we. So, Shawnee, or were you wanting to address the council tonight?
Yes, sorry, sir.
Please just step up and give your name.
Good evening, my name is Shawnee Widener. I'm in Ward 1, so I believe you know who represents me here. I've had some issues that I've found very frustrating to get no resolution from any officials in Seminole. One of the issues I've encountered is that I have a neighbor across the street from me who has a dog barking all night, every night. I have called animal control 15 times in a year and a half. I've called the police 4 times. I've filed a complaint, and this is an ongoing problem. That problems exist is inevitable. That problems are not getting addressed at the official level is extremely frustrating. So I was wondering if there's something we can do about this. I should assume that any reasonable city regulations would cover a noise ordinance and that they would be in violation of this.
Where's it located at?
The house that's the problem with the dog is 207 West Evans. I'm at 401 North Park, but it's on the corner of Park and Evans, and my bedroom window is immediately across from where they chain up the dog. I have tried to speak to them. They don't answer their door. I've spoken to a person who lives in that house during the daytime, but actually, I'm not even sure it's a person who lives in that house. I've spoken to a person entering that home in the daytime, and they said, yeah, dogs bark.
Who have you contacted about it?
I have spoken to every animal control officer that this town has employed. There was one whose name I do not recall, who was only half-days here in Seminole, half-days in Wewoka. I don't think he was very long-term. I spoke with John Blassingame when he was the animal control officer. He came out to them several times. I have spoken to Rosemary, who I'm afraid I don't know her last name, is the current animal control officer. She has come out 5 times on complaints of this, but she has told me that there's no regulation against this, that I have to file a complaint, which I have done. I've had police officers out. I filed a complaint in November. This is still ongoing. I don't understand why.
So how long has it been going on altogether?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half.
Could I have your address again? I'm sorry.
401 North Park. It's the corner of Park and Evans, just a couple blocks from here.
And who told you there was no ordinance against this?
The current animal control officer, Rosemary, she told me they don't have any ordinance against it, that I have to file a...
That's not true.
And I assume that's not true because previous animal control officers have told me they will issue a citation. Whether they have or not, I don't know, but this problem continues. It seems to me that when I see in the newspaper that tax revenues are down, if our city needs revenue, I should think finding people that are causing problems might be a way to solve 2 problems.
I don't recall the name. I know that I sign those all the time, so if it came across my desk from the animal control officer from the police department, you know, if it had the proper affidavits with it and met the probable cause, well, we sign those routinely. And I've tried several of these cases, so I don't know the status. I don't recall your name because I signed so many. But if it hit my desk, it probably has been filed. But I could not tell you, but I guess we can check into it. I know the chief is here.
I have not been asked to appear in court, so when I spoke with the same police officer again later, I bumped into him and asked. And he said, I don't know, but if they didn't call you to court, it may be that they've simply paid the fine. I do not
Now,
know.
that is possible. That is possible. A lot of times the people the people that have been cited will appear and the judge will impose a fine just to enter a plea of guilty. And that happens actually probably about 90% of the time. So that's if it's been signed, there's a good possibility that they have already been fined. So
but
we
the
would.
problem is ongoing. Do I have any recourse?
You'd have to file another complaint, and then they could.
Calling the police or the animal control officer?
Probably the animal control officer. I'm sure Chief Hansen can talk to you.
Call me tomorrow.
I'll have to get rid
Yeah,
of
and they do face enhanced punishment. So I can tell you that there is an ordinance.
I'm delighted to hear that.
Yeah.
Is there a way for me to see what the city ordinances are? Is it available to the public?
It's online. Online, and we'll provide you with a copy as well. But there is an ordinance, and it is enforced. I think you probably are aware of this. We've had a previous issue that's been. We take those fairly seriously, especially when there's issues like this that continue to be ongoing. But anyway,
Sleep
you got anything?
deprivation being a form of torture, I really feel it needs resolved. And it's frustrating to me that the animal control officer, and she seems to be very conscientious. I have no issue with her, but she seems unfamiliar with regulations because she said there's no ordinance against this. She also told me there's no regulation against chaining a dog out front. But I am pretty sure I've seen a regulation against that printed in the Seminole Producer approximately a year ago, because emergency services cannot access the front door if the dog is chained out front, but she told me there's no such regulation. So somebody needs to bring her up to speed on her job, maybe, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, because I think she's truly trying to do her job very well, but she needs access to the same regulations I do. And on another issue, if I could bring up one more, there's an abandoned vehicle near my home. It's on Evans. So anybody who drives down Evans to the kindergarten of Shirley has seen this vehicle. It was abandoned December 24th in the evening. It broke down. They couldn't get it going. They came back the next day and collected what they were going to collect out of that vehicle. It's been there since. So in late January, I called the police, reported it as an abandoned vehicle, and an officer came out. I happened to see him, so I went and spoke with him. Apparently, it belongs to a friend of the house behind where they stopped on the road, and he said to them, you need to get it off the road or we'll impound it, but then turned around and told me I was just bluffing. We don't have the authority to impound it. I do not know, again, if this is true. I was told that, in fact, they do have the authority to impound it if it's abandoned. But it's blocking traffic and it's blocking the storm drain. It's stopped with the right passenger front tire against the storm drain. And I just don't think that's the best spot for a vehicle. So if the police are not familiar with whether or not they can impound it, perhaps the city can step in.
Where is it located again?
It's parked on Evans. It's, it would be hard for me to give the house address. I don't know. Do you know where Seminole Community Market was?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit past that White House right by their parking lot. It's actually in front of the backyard of 400 North Park.
Okay.
And I did call police off, what color? Cream, old, probably 1970s vehicle. In fact, I think I took a picture of it, but I didn't take it from.
What's the ordinances on that, Red?
We have that on the agenda this evening.
I was going to say, you
Well,
might want
that's
to,
good timing.
might want to stick around and see the new ordinance that the city council is going to consider tonight.
The vehicle is some very old, and it's completely bashed up in the rear. They've got bungee cords holding the trunk down to it.
Yeah.
And they came to retrieve what they were going to retrieve out of that vehicle. So I presume it's well and truly abandoned. After the officer spoke to the family that lives in that White House by Seminole Community Market's parking lot, a person came and fiddled with the engine again, but it has not been moved since. And that is a fairly high-traffic street as residential streets go. It would be nice to have that out of the way, because when people are coming or going to that traffic light at Milt Phillips and Evans, somebody has to wait.
We'll look into that tomorrow also.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing this to our attention.
For your benefit, the website is,
Yes, sir.
Seminole-Oklahoma.net.
Oklahoma spelled out fully?
Yes. Seminole-Oklahoma.net. And,
I can read city ordinances if it's-
yes, ma'am.
Thank
We
you so much.
contract with a company called Sterling Codifiers, and they've got all of our ordinance online, so, okay, thank you.
Are there any other appearances or petitions from the audience? If not, we move then to approvals and acceptances. Bids, number one, consideration and possible action to approve declaring the boat at Sportsman's Lake as surplus and authorizing staff to solicit sealed bids.
Yes, sir. We had a boat donated several years ago. It's kind of I guess you'd classify it as a deeper water boat. It's certainly good for going out and checking licenses as long as it's not in the shallow area of the lake. But the lake ranger and a lot of the lake board members now realize that they need to have a shallower draft boat that can get into the areas around the horse trails and clean up trash in the shallow areas. So they're going to opt to sell this boat off, which is donated, and I think they've already had another boat donated in place of it. So they're asking that this be be declared surplus so they can go about that.
I move we approve.
I'll second that.
Roll call?
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Gary Howe,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Move then to resolutions. Number 2, consideration and possible action to approve resolution number 2017-01, a resolution allowing the sale, possession, and consumption of wine and Low Point beer on April the 1st, 2017, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. in conjunction with the Made in Oklahoma Festival.
It's the same thing we've been doing for years and years,
I
so.
move to approve.
Second.
Roll call?
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Gary Howe,
No.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving then to ordinances. Number 3, consideration and possible action to approve ordinance number 1197, an ordinance revoking Title 15, Chapter 13, impoundment of vehicles in its current form and amending said Title 15, Chapter 13.
We have with us our new police chief. I think that he would do well at explaining this. If you don't mind, go to the podium and help us wade through what we need to do. And we'll use Brad as a backup if you need.
Appreciate that. The ordinances we had obviously have been pretty vague. This ordinance that we've got pretty much clarifies everything, solves the problems that Shawnee, is that?
Yes, that's
That
correct.
Shawnee was having. It clarifies when we can, how we can, and what we can do to as far as law enforcement to impound vehicles. It also clarifies how we can release vehicles, okay? As far as people having to have insurance to get their vehicles back, having to have vehicles registered. Right now, what happens is it's basically left it up to the wrecking yard. So we impound a vehicle for no insurance, vehicle's worth $50, $100, whatever, has basically no value. The wrecking yard decides that, hey, this vehicle's gonna cost me $300 or $400 to Title 42 it, I can get $200 from this customer, I'm just gonna release it. So we can put another uninsured vehicle, another one of the 45% of the vehicles uninsured back on the road. By this ordinance, we're making sure these vehicles are insured when they go back on the road. Okay, we charge a $100 fee, which is common. We're probably one of the only municipalities that do not charge that fee. This ordinance right here was copied from Mustang, Oklahoma. This is pretty much the same exact ordinance they use. Brad took a few of the words, changed it to ours, took Mustang out, put Seminole in. I know Wawoka charges it, Kanawha charges it, most cities charge the $100 fee. That fee would go into training, equipment, clerical, stuff like that for the PD. Would help us get up to date on the equipment that we need, that we are behind in, the technology that we need to be up to date to do the things that we need to do as to bring us up to speed as a PD.
Any questions of the chief?
Motion to approve.
Second. Roll call?
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Gary Howe,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 4, consideration and possible action to approve the emergency clause associated with ordinance number 1197 above.
Move to approve.
Second. Roll call.
Chris Hansen,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson.
Yes.
Gary Howe,
Yes.
Larry Church.
Yes.
Tim Poplin.
Yes.
Bill Wantland.
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
We move then to current business. Number 5, consideration and possible action to approve allowing the Seminole Chamber of Commerce to host the annual Made in Oklahoma Festival at Municipal Park and close Grisso Drive from Fairway Drive to Keith Marshall and Keith Marshall from Fairway Drive to Lloyd Simmons on Friday, March the 31st through Saturday evening, April the 1st.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call?
Chris Anson,
Yes.
Dee Dee Patterson,
Yes.
Gary Howe,
Yes.
Larry Church,
Yes.
Tim Poplin,
Yes.
Bill Wantland,
Yes.
John Kramer.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Number 6, consideration and possible action to approve the engagement